I get asked all the time about my thoughts about a certain math resource or textbook. Now, I don't have the time to look at, nonetheless, use every textbook or resource that's out there. So instead of telling you what I think about certain resources, I thought I'd share with you how I evaluate math resources so that you could use a similar strategy when you are presented with something new. I'm Christina Tondevold, the Recovering Traditionalist, and today we're going to take a look at evaluating elementary math resources in our quest to build our math minds so we can build the math minds of our students. Now, when districts are evaluating math resources, they typically are just looking to see if the resource meets all the math standards for each grade level. If that's all that you are needing, take a look at Ed Reports because they have done that work for you, and I'll link to where you can find that information down below this video. Now, when I used to sit in with districts when they were doing their evaluations, I was actually looking at different things. Every resource that you can find will pretty much cover the standards. But the question is, how are they covering the standards? So let's dig into what I take a look at to see how resources are really helping us teach those standards. These are the things that I can use to look at a textbook, but I can also use them to look at a single resource, like something you might find on Teachers Pay Teachers. So no matter what the resource is, I'm looking for these three things. Number one, is it focused on problem solving or answer getting? So I can kind of like just skim through the book and look at the types of assignments that they are giving kiddos. Does the resource have 50 problems or 5 problems? If it has 5, that tells me that it's allowing for time for the kiddos to solve problems and even have time to discuss how kids were solving them. If there's 50 problems, and yes, I'm exaggerating here, right? But if there is a ton of problems, you can tell that that resource is really focused on just get the answer. We've got to do it quickly to get through that many problems, right? That's the only way that you can do that many problems. So again, the first thing is it focused more on problem solving or is it focused more on answer getting? The second thing I look at is, do the lessons include CRA? If you don't know what that stands for, I'm going to link for a full video all about this down below this video, but CRA stands for concrete, representational, and abstract. This is the idea that it isn't just the symbols on a piece of paper. Kids need to work and play with mathematics, and so they need the experiences of using concrete things, concrete manipulatives, to play around, build their understanding of mathematics. The R stands for representational. Some people call this a P for pictorial. I like representational instead of pictorial because it's not just pictures. It's having some kind of representation of my thinking. And that can be with a model like a number line. It can be by drawing things out using pictures, but it can be something simple like just a rectangle to put in some numbers. So a lot of people will call those tape diagrams, things like that. Anything where kids are modeling their thinking using some kind of representation on the paper that isn't just the equation. And that's kind of what the abstract level is the abstract is just the symbols. 7 plus 8 equals 15. It's just the symbols, just the equation, whatever it might be, but it is no drawings, no manipulative work. So is the resource, whether it's a full textbook or a single, activity that you're doing, does it allow for kids to use all three of them? Is it including all three of them? Are there opportunities for kids to play around with all three of them? My preference is to do all three in a single lesson, but that doesn't happen all the time. And if you check out the video down below here about the CRA approach, I talk about why I encourage you to use all three in the same lesson as much as you can. There are times when, yes, you're just working in concrete. There are times when you're you're just in abstract. But when you can do all three, that's when you start to see a whole lot of light bulbs come on. So whatever your resource is, you want to see that it is including opportunities for kids to work in all three of those areas: concrete, representational, and abstract. Okay, our third thing that I want to encourage you to take a look at is, are the three areas of rigor showing up? Now, when we think about rigor, we tend to think of it as just being harder, right? We want something to be rigorous. That means it should be hard. But actually, when we think about rigor in mathematics, there's three areas of types of problems that kids need exposure to, and that's what makes mathematics rigorous. Kids need types of activities that are building their procedural fluency. They need activities that are building their conceptual understanding, and they need activities that are asking them to apply it into a contextual situation. All three of these make up a balanced approach to mathematics. That's why I love this visual with this idea of it as a stool. If one of those is missing, that stool is going to fall over, it's going to be unsteady, and that is essentially what happens to our kiddos and their understanding of mathematics. If your textbook or your resource is only focused on procedural fluency, they're going to have an unbalanced idea of what mathematics is about. Their understanding of mathematics will not be steady. Same is true if your textbook is fully focused on conceptual understanding. If all they're doing is building conceptual understanding and there's not a whole lot of procedural fluency type tasks, that's not a balanced approach to mathematics instruction. So whatever your resource is, you want to see, is it including things that have procedural fluency, that make kids apply it to real life situations, and they're building their conceptual understanding. Now, you will see this show up even in your standards. That's why it's super important. This is an example from second grade, but no matter what grade level you teach, you can dig into your standards and look at the wording. This will help you because some grade levels have more procedural fluency type standards, while some grade levels you are more focused on conceptual understanding. So your resources should reflect that. So I want you to take a look at your personal grade level to see what the focus is more on. Here's an example in second grade again, where you see standards that say word problems. That tells you right there that this is where you should be bringing in those application type experiences for your kiddos. Anytime you see a standard that talks about word problems, that is taking the mathematics and putting it into context so that they can apply it to real life situations. Whenever you see something that says fluently, that's a good giveaway that it is working towards procedural fluency. We need tasks that are helping kids build their fluency on that specific standard. And then when you see standards that say understand, this is when we are building their conceptual understanding, helping kids understand place value in second grade. We aren't working towards fluency with place value in that standard. There might be another standard with procedural fluency for place value, but in second grade, that standard is asking kids to build their conceptual understanding. So as you look at your resources and you try to look at that in comparison to your standards, it's not just, do I have tasks about place value and about adding and subtracting within 20? It's, do I have tasks that include all three of these areas? Do I have things that are building their conceptual understanding, their procedural fluency, and having them apply it to real life situations? Here's an example from a book, and just taking a look at the types of activities that they give. Almost all of them are very procedural. There's one where they're being asked to apply it, but other than that, the tasks really weren't a lot of conceptual understanding. So you've got to kind of make a decision about what you think about a resource, a textbook, whatever it might be, based upon those things. It's not just, are they covering my standards? Because pretty much every resource does that. It's how they're covering it. And I want you to look at those three areas. And a reminder, first one, is it focused on answer getting or problem solving? Number two, does it include opportunities for kids to work in concrete, representational, and abstract. And then the third area is, does it include the 3 areas of rigor? Are kids being exposed to activities that build their conceptual understanding, encourage procedural fluency, and give them opportunities to apply it in real life situations? All right, I hope that this video has helped you build your math mind so you can go build the math minds of your students. Have a great day.